am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. Blum.
Hello there. Price of Reason here with a movie review. Every once in a while, a movie comes along that subverts my expectations, not in a douchey way, but rather in a good way. Such a movie is M3GAN, a Jason Blum and James Wan co-production directed by Gerard Johnstone. While both Blum and Wan are no rookies when it comes to producing horror movies, some of their movies are certainly better than others. Regardless, they're both pretty good at making profitable movies within this genre at relatively small budgets while also generating big profits. M3GAN will likely continue this trend, but while it could technically be considered a horror movie, this one is more cross-genre, blending humor, satire, science fiction, and even some social commentary without ever taking itself too seriously. In my review, I will go over the basic plot, but do my best to not go full spoiler. This won't be difficult to do as the plot is rather straightforward and generally appears in a lot of the marketing for this movie. Gemma is a robot engineer that works for a toy company. She unexpectedly gets custody of her niece after her parents die in a car accident. While trying to adapt to her new role as guardian, Gemma creates M3GAN, an AI robot that would act as an entertaining distraction for her niece. At first, things seem great, as not only does the robot make the girl happy, the toy company Gemma works for is so impressed with it that they want to manufacture a series of M3GANs. But as expected with these type of movies, the AI robot girl starts to become, problematic over time, and from novelty toys she turns into a dangerous threat. As always in my reviews, I will discuss the film's strengths and then its weaknesses. Number 1. The tone. This movie actually manages to function as a hybrid between multiple genres, yet it does so with ease. Seeing a corporation react to M3GAN and want to profit off her is rather amusing. The social commentary about parents over-relying on technology to occupy their kids' time without ever thinking about the consequences is also rather effective. The dangers of AI are addressed here, as they have been in many movies prior, but with so many advancements in AI in recent years, the idea is as relevant as always, if not more. And when the toy begins to malfunction, the movie builds suspense while still somehow remaining humorous. I believe that what makes all of these elements work together is that the movie always knows that it's meant to first of all entertain. By never becoming too dramatic, too serious, or too emotional, there's a feeling of tongue-in-cheek fun while watching it, which is good when watching any movie. I don't often laugh in movies, and to its credit, this movie actually got some laughs out of me at certain moments. I don't know much about director Gerard Johnstone or his other works, but if this movie is anything to go by, at least on the surface, I would say he seems to have some potential. Number 2, the writing. While this movie of course isn't exactly some crowning cinematic achievement like The Godfather or Citizen Kane, I still appreciate the balancing act that screenwriter Akila Cooper achieves in this movie. As preposterous as some of the events of this movie may seem, there is at least some type of internal logic that holds them together. Characters are also overall pretty well defined, with clear motivations, and even some surprising character development. Gemma, who early in the movie doesn't seem fit to be a guardian to her niece, changes throughout the movie. The more things get, messy, the more she understands the responsibility she has. Her niece, Cady, who has lost her parents, also comes to certain realizations and acceptance of her new situation too. Heck, as bizarre as it may sound, even the AI robot has some character development here. More than most MCU characters these days, as odd as that sounds. And the overall story flows at a steady pace without ever really dragging. Every scene in the movie serves some kind of purpose and moves the story along. Number 3, Allison Williams. One of the problems I have with actress Allison Williams is that anytime I see her, I immediately think of Brian Williams and Lena Dunham, which isn't exactly what you want to be thinking about while looking at a woman. Even so, I have to say that with a cast of mostly B-level actors, Williams does most of the heavy lifting in this movie acting-wise, and she does it pretty well. Much like in the movie Get Out, she delivers a solid performance here, even when the events happening on screen are a bit preposterous. Number 4, the visuals. One of the most impressive things about this movie is the visuals. The M3GAN doll robot, in my opinion, looks really convincing, and that very much helps sell the idea of this movie. It's especially impressive to learn that this movie was made with only a budget of $12 million. From what I understand, the way they accomplished this with such a tight budget is that they combined practical effects using a real actress supplemented by digital effects in post-production. In my opinion, a lot of other productions should pay attention and learn from what was done here, as it is not only cost effective, it also looks great. It's a perfect and economical blend of old and new VFX techniques with a very satisfying result. Well, that was the good. Now let's talk about the bad. First of all, let me start off by saying that anything negative I have to say in this case is rather minor, but still worth mentioning. Number 1. Absurdity. As I've mentioned before, this movie doesn't take itself too seriously, and while it overall benefits from this, you still have to suspend some disbelief here. For example, the speed and efficiency in which Gemma puts together this robot and how quickly her employers want to rush M3GAN to market is unrealistic, as well as the elaborate functions the robot has. Beyond the technology side, there are certainly other things that could be picked apart here, including surveillance and law enforcement, but again, this movie was made to entertain you, and in my opinion, it ultimately achieves its goal. Number 2. PG-13. From what I understand, this movie was supposed to originally be a more gory rated R, but was toned down to appeal to a broader audience. As a result, the horror aspect is more subtle than your typical slasher film. For me, this isn't really an issue because I don't see it as a typical horror movie, but if you're in it purely for the slashings and gore, you may end up at least slightly disappointed. Overall, I enjoyed this movie, and while it's not necessarily peak cinema, it could very well go down as a cult movie over time. It has definitely influenced by movies such as Child's Play, The Terminator, and even RoboCop, but gives them a fresh and modern take of its own. In a day and age where all we see is franchise reboots and rehashes, it's nice that somebody bothered to create something new that fits into the current era we live in. Also, while there is some mild social commentary, it's never overbearing or aggressive. Finally, it also doesn't push a bunch of heavy-handed, trendy agendas that we're so used to seeing from Hollywood these days. For me, this was a surprisingly fun and entertaining time at the movies. If you're looking for something to see that doesn't demand too much of you as a viewer, then I would recommend it. What did you think of M3GAN? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and also clicking on that wonderful notification bell. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. Blum.